Good day, everybody. This is Casey with Aligned Astrology. Welcome back, friends. Today we're talking about the full moon in Libra. On April 1st, we have the full moon in Libra culminating at 12 degrees in the sign of Libra. And we have a lot of energy going through the sign of Aries. Of course, when we look at a full moon, we see them as times of culmination or completion. It's when the light of the sun is shining onto the moon. A lot of the time we see these full moons as an opportunity for clarity, for things coming to surface in our awareness, things that we may not necessarily miss. Depending on our rising sign, this full moon affects us differently and more prominently in our personal lives and our public lives, even in the hidden sphere of our experience. But when we bring to mind what the sign of Libra means, it is usually correlated with the relationship. Although Libra is the sign of scales, the sign of balance, we take the other into great consideration during this full moon. How we relate with one another, how we interact with people, and even how we interact with ourselves on a deep internal level. Because how we see others is how we see ourselves. When we think about a therapeutic standpoint, or the idea of, maybe you've heard of internal family systems, we have that family inside ourselves that helps us to cultivate and express ourselves, to cultivate our own experience and express ourselves in this said experience in a particular way. This goes hand in hand with how we operate with people in relationships. So with this full moon in Libra, we can take some moments for ourselves to notice our relationships and what direction they're taking. Always understanding that Libra is the sign of balance. There is a push and pull. There is a give and take in every relationship and connection in our life. So when there comes time for a full moon, there could be a time of letting go of an old way of being, letting go of how we operate in relationship in order to take on a new way of being. Maybe we already know what that is in our experience. Each time there is a full moon or even a new moon, it's important for us to look at the ruler or the lord of the particular house in which the moon lands. This full moon in Libra is ruled by Venus, which is in the sign of Taurus. Now Venus is at home in the sign of Taurus. Venus knows what it wants in the sign of Taurus. So when we look at this full moon, we take into consideration the strength, the expression that Venus takes on. Now there's a number of different aspects that are taking place as this full moon culminates, and we'll pull the chart up shortly so we can look at them together and do a bit of delineation to see what this full moon as a whole entails. But starting from the standpoint of Venus in the sign of Taurus, thinking about the idea of quality over quantity, the sign of Libra with this full moon here wants to have an equal exchange, a sort of a balance. When we think about Libra as the sign of justice as well, everybody has to get what they need. And sometimes Libra sacrifices itself for the sake of others. That's not what we need to do now. With the full moon here is something that we need to see within ourselves. In my own personal experience as a Scorpio rising, this full moon is landing in my 12th house. So it's bringing to surface a lot of things that I may not be consciously aware of at the moment. So with this full moon embracing us, it's giving me the opportunity to see things that I've maybe overlooked in the relationship sector of my experience with people outside of myself, and of course with the deeper parts of my own self. With Taurus bringing its ruler Venus into its sign, this is giving us an opportunity to come into that grounded state of awareness of what we really need to do, what we need to do in order to receive in our relationship connections. Now let's go ahead and pull up the astrology so we can look at what other aspects are affecting us. So when we begin to understand how astrology works, and maybe we're all very familiar at this point, each and every planet that comes in contact within a 3-degree orb range, according to my traditional Hellenistic practice, these planets are having a conversation. They're telling each other some form of information. With the sun in the sign of Aries, it's in its exaltation place, and it takes on an action-oriented expression. It wants to take action and move forward. But of course, you know from previous videos, we've had Neptune and Saturn in that conjunction, and they have taken a moment in that sign of Aries to help us to slow down, to help us to become more mindful of the next step, especially in an intuitional level with Neptune here. It's helping us to be more mindful of what comes next and giving us the ability to feel these things out as well. Now with that sun in a superior square aspect to Jupiter, we are moving towards some sort of higher guidance. Maybe a guru or teacher is being beneficial to us in this experience. This comes hand in hand with our relational aspects of the full moon in Libra. There's somebody that we're connecting with. There's some sort of situation that's coming into our experience that is providing us with an opportunity to see ourselves differently, to connect with these people in a nurturing standpoint, to see what they have to share without assuming that we know best, or taking the time to just give up all of our own values and ideals for the sake of theirs. But there's an equal balance, an equal give and exchange. We listen to what they say and receive what fits best for us. Now, of course, when there's a square during a full moon, a square to the sun, there's also a square to the moon. Now, Jupiter is in a superior square to the moon. And now, when I say superior and inferior, we think about the zodiacal wheel like a clock going around, right? From the first house to the second to the third and so on. The 9th house is before the 12th house. So it's like Jupiter is looking over to the moon. So it is imparting its expression, it's imparting its wisdom, its guidance, its energy onto the moon. And the square aspects carry the energy of Mars. Of course, we may know this by now, but these are action-oriented expressions. There's square aspects call for challenge. You know, pressure produces diamonds in this state. Sometimes they call for action. So, of course, with the sun in the superior aspect to Jupiter, we're gaining clarity. We know what we want. We know what direction we need to go in. And maybe we know who we need to connect with in order to reach that point. With Jupiter in conjunction with the moon is correlated with our mind. It can be correlated with our emotions as well, even our physical body, all of these things. So Jupiter, the guidance, the guru, that nurturing standpoint, maybe it's a person, is going to be providing a support to us. We have to just take the action to seek them out. And when we gain that connection, gain clarity in that connection, maybe it opens the door to the next path. Like we said about Venus in the sign of Taurus, quality over quantity. It comes from seeing what fits best and taking what we need once again. But when we also understand Venus in the sign of Taurus, Taurus is a very slow moving sign, but once Taurus has found its grounding and begins to move forward, it becomes a very consistent and active sign. But Taurus must continue to keep moving forward in order to keep the momentum. Otherwise, when it becomes still, it wants to remain still or fixed for a period of time. So, with this positive Venusian energy in the sign of Taurus, imparting its expression into the full moon of Libra, we can see once again that our full moon energy is helping us to see that balance, find our even given exchange. Now, of course, all of these different aspects that show themselves play a part in our full moon. We also have Mercury, which recently stationed direct. It's coming into a trine aspect to Jupiter as well. We can notice that most of our aspects going on through this full moon are making aspects to the planet Jupiter, which is in its exaltation. We know Jupiter recently stationed direct, and Jupiter is moving forward now. But when we have Mercury, which is the planet of communication, the planet of the mind, in the sign of Pisces, it doesn't necessarily know which way to go. It doesn't have its grounded footing. It's kind of guided by fantasy. It's guided by that idea. But in a trine aspect to Jupiter, which is a supportive aspect correlated with the energy of Jupiter, Jupiter is opulence, it is abundance, it is growth and expansion. Maybe that person that we're connecting with is going to help us to see that direction. Maybe we have a hunch that this is the direction we need to go in, and we meet somebody along the way. All of these opportunities with the full moon in Libra seem like they should be nurturing ones, beneficial ones that help us to grow, not drain us. So we can start by understanding that the purpose is to be open to receive, and we can notice then whether it's fulfilling or if it's draining or we don't benefit. This can be our guiding light in this moment. As we experience this full moon in the sign of Libra, we must remember that balance is always key when we speak about the sign of Libra. And this is something that we may not have reached yet. Maybe we feel like we're pushed too far in one direction and we need to slow down. We need to take more action instead, whatever the case may be. This is the time for an equal balance to be created. Through communication and connection with others, we can see ourselves deeper. Through the guidance of a master or guru, a teacher, we can begin to understand the importance of a direction. Then we see within ourselves what we have gained and which way we really need to go. Hopefully you've gained something from this video, friends. If you have, remember to like the video. Please remember to subscribe, because it helps more people like you see my videos. Until the next time, friends, this is Casey with Aligned Astrology. We'll see you again.